Hello, this is Corbin, and welcome to Beyond D&D, a video to go over other role-playing game systems besides Dungeons & Dragons. Today we're going to be covering Chronicles of Darkness. Now, Chronicles of Darkness is likely the second or third biggest role-playing game out there. It's an offshoot of the old World of Darkness game line by White Wolf, and then which was made famous by Vampire the Masquerade. Now, Chronicles of Darkness focuses a little bit more on giving game masters tools to create their own campaigns and settings, and that's why I like it a little bit more than Old World of Darkness. Some people who've heard of World of Darkness or Chronicles of Darkness may think it's a grim, dark setting, but I assure you it's only as grim, dark as you want it to be. Quite often groups will plan to be badasses from Underworld only for their characters to look more like characters from What We Do in the Shadows. And honestly, if you want a good sense of what a Chronicles of Darkness game is, pro tip, go check out What We Do in the Shadows. It definitely feels like a love letter to these types of role-playing games. Now, the most popular settings, also known as splats by the Chronicles of Darkness players, are Vampire the Requiem, Werewolf the Forsaken, and Mage the Awakening. Each one of these covers a specific supernatural archetype, vampire, werewolf, and wizard, respectively. There are also other game lines that cover an array of archetypes, but there are just too many to go over in this video. Right now we'll be focusing on the base game, which covers mortal characters or your normal person. I may make new videos in the future depending on people's interests. Please comment below on which game lines you'd like me to cover in the next video. Chronicles of Darkness and D&D have a lot in common. Both have been staples for role-playing games for decades. Both rely on Game Master to run the campaign. Both are easy to pick up, yet difficult to master. And as shown before, both have a variety of settings to play around with. However, Chronicles of Darkness' main differences are as follows. It's typically set in a real-life, modern-day setting, with the supernatural world being behind the scenes. Although there are Dark Era books that cover various points in human history, such as the Revolutionary War and other moments in time. The system itself uses 10-sided dice instead of d20s, and players typically purchase skills and abilities with XP and don't really level up like in Dungeons & Dragons. There's a focus more on investigation and a player's conflict with their own evil. Personal horror, as in the slide here, is a player character dealing with their own evil or the evil that is within them, either accepting it or rejecting it. And it's a great way of having character development. Making a character in Chronicles of Darkness is very simple, and they even put the instructions at the bottom of the character sheet for you to follow. A good recommendation is for you to just come up with a concept first that you like, such as a hacker or a diplomat, and then distribute your stats to match that vision. I won't go into the nitty-gritty, but your attributes and skills are associated with 3 categories: mental, physical, and social, with some derived values for stats like health and willpower. And then we have the merits, which are the equivalent of feats from Dungeons & Dragons. They range from martial art moves to how much spending cash you have on you at any time. Honestly, it takes me about 30 minutes to create a mortal character in this way. After making a character, you can also apply a template on top of that character from another game line to turn it into a vampire or werewolf or any other supernatural creature, but that's more advanced. A good introduction to Chronicles of Darkness is probably running a standalone Mortals game using only the core rulebook. Keep it short. It's just there to help players get used to the system and get you started the quickest. After you play your first session, ask your players if they're willing to try out a campaign, either using the Chronicles of Darkness base book or branching out to the other settings. I sold my players on a demon game by having them play as mortals first, who had made a deal with a demon, And then they had to try to deal with the demon, either socially or through combat, to try and resolve the issue. It actually got my players more interested in playing demons for our next campaign, and that's what we did. We played Demon the Descent. I'd recommend that if you're a first-time GM, though, don't mix any of the supernatural types with each other. They're really separate game lines, and each one has their own set of rules and subtypes within those supernatural entities. You have supernatural entities such as werewolves, who are the berserker brawlers, but then you also have the stealthy werewolf, or the werewolf that is more shamanistic. It can be very difficult to keep track of all these different rules from the different game lines, so I really recommend sticking to one game line if you're going to. And then once you become comfortable, adding in more game lines. Also, if you want to listen to any podcasts to try and get an idea of how Chronicles of Darkness plays, I highly recommend the Occultists Anonymous podcast. It's a Mage the Awakening game, but they cover a variety of different game lines within the story and introduces it to people as if it were their first time being exposed to things like werewolves, vampires, and such. Fandible is also a great resource for actual play podcasts because they do a lot of one-shot sessions in the Chronicles of Darkness. They have Demon the Descent, they have Changeling the Lost, they have Vampire the Requiem. You can find whichever Chronicles of Darkness game line you want in that podcast. Excuse me. Now, if you liked what you heard here, please like the video if I've helped you out in any way. Additionally, if there are any tabletop game lines you wish for me to cover in the future, please let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for reaching the end of the video. I hope you have a good one.